Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dr. Philip Fletcher here, and welcome to. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Philip Fletcher, and welcome to another episode of the Humanity Matters Weekly, where we discuss and reflect on faith and philosophy, nonprofit leadership, and social issues. We want to engage ideas on what it means to be a human being and flourish as a human being. So, hey, connect with me if you want. Find my Facebook page, Dr. Philip Fletcher, as well. You can find me over on YouTube. Just put in Humanity Matters or Philip Fletcher and subscribe. Also, find me on the IG, Instagram, Dr. Philip Fletcher. Or if you like to be in the Twitterverse, go on over to Twitter and hey, find me at Phil Fletcher. If you have a question, want to send a comment, please send me an email at humanitymatterspodcast@gmail.com. Also, find my podcast, which comes out once a week. You can find it on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast listening. Go over there and subscribe. Give me a rating, whether it's a 1 star or all the way up to the top. Hey, every bit of feedback is very helpful, and I appreciate everybody who chimes in, gives a comment, listens for a while, sends me an email. It helps me out and it's very encouraging. Even if you don't like what I have to say, send me something. Hey, be on Facebook, give me a rating. It's all good. Makes me a better person, hopefully, to offer you value and content to improve your life as well. So, a lot going on. Hey, starting Friday, October 16th, and then October 23rd, and then Friday, October 30th at 12 p.m. I'm getting together people for one on one conversations. It's called Humanity Matters One on One. So, this coming Friday, I'm going to have somebody sit down that affirms the position of all lives matter, and they're going to have a discussion with someone who affirms the position of Black Lives Matter. And then the following week, we're going to get into a three-way discussion: a Democrat, a Republican, and a Libertarian all walk into a room. What's going to happen? Well, my desire is that they learn from one another, be able to articulate the strengths of their position, but also identify the weaknesses of their position. And hopefully, people would leave as friends, or at least on the road to becoming friends. And then finally, October 30th, 12 p.m., I will have someone sit down who favors a national mask mandate versus someone who is for individual free choice. So all of those will be recorded, and then all of those will be made available on my Humanity Matters podcast, because ultimately I want people to hear and experience what it is to have civil, kind conversations with someone they have a disagreement with. So be looking forward to those. That first one is October 16th. I am still looking for one person who will take the all lives matter position, and also a person who will take the Democratic position. I'm shocked I can't find someone who takes the all lives matter position, or is willing to stand up and affirm his or her positions regarding the platform of the Democratic Party. Hey, we got a comment come in. What's going on, Joy? Good to hear from you. Glad you could join us live. Yes, I enjoy these types of tricky, necessary conversations, because it's important that we learn from one another. We don't have all the information, right? Every position has a weakness in it, and I think it's important that we recognize that we don't have all the answers, and we got to find a way to silence the extreme voices so that reasonable people can listen and learn from one another, and we can come up with some solutions that will again have people flourish as human beings. So there is that. So that starts Friday, October 16th. then the 23rd, and then the 30th. Be looking for those. And then on October 25th, I'll be in Springdale. I'll be speaking at the Liberty for All Criminal Justice Reform Forum. I know Ricky Dale Harrington, he's running against Senator Tom Cotton. He's going to be speaking there as well. So get a chance to meet Mr. Harrington, but more importantly, be able to speak about the issues related to criminal justice reform. And I'm going to offer my insights, my thoughts and reflections on it as possible ways that we can move forward as Arkansans, but also, as citizens within this nation. Hey, we got a comment from Joy. Will the people taking the different stances be videoed in the same room or Zoom, or how will this work? Joy, the conversations will be recorded. There'll be no videos done. I just want to protect people's privacy. And I feel one of the safest ways to do that is just to use audio. And so no visual will be done for that. Trying to make sure that people have the freedom to be able to talk as much as they want to about their position, but also, there's just some people out there, just real talk. And so I just want to do everything that's necessary to create a situation in which people can be honest, they can be forthcoming in their positions, be able to defend their positions, but also have the humility to recognize their flaws in their positions, and then from there figure out ways to move forward. Hey, great question. Welcome again to the Humanity Matters Weekly. I'm your host, Dr. Philip Fletcher, and we're going to dive into what I'm starting to make as hopefully something very frequent. And I call it malevolent memes. What do I mean? I know you've seen it, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Somebody, or maybe you, post a meme where you may think you are on the side of angels because you are talking about the other guy or the other group, right? But if you actually read the meme, you'd be like, for real? So I found a couple, and I'm going to start with the AG from the state of Kentucky. Context. Okay, Mr. Cameron, he is the Attorney General for the state of Kentucky. Unless you've been living under a rock, the state of Kentucky, the Attorney General Cameron released the grand jury report regarding the death of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky. Transparency, that's my home, right? Grew up there. My parents live there. My sister lives there as well. I got all types of family in Louisville. Needless to say, so somebody posts a meme about Mr. Cameron, and in this meme, it's two pictures. He is at a Supercuts, apparently. Okay, I say apparently because in this day and age, pictures can be doctored, photoshopped, edited. So that you can take somebody's head and put it on something, and they may or may not have been there, but nonetheless, this is the picture that was posted. All right. And so the caption at the top says, "Dead giveaway, exclamation mark. Never trust a brother that gets his hair cut at Supercuts." Now, let's dive into that. So never trust a brother, right? So this is not brother meaning kin, right? Like you have a sister or a brother, right? Blood relationship. No, this is never trust a brother, aka don't trust a black man, a guy with brown skin color, all right, that gets his hair cut at Supercuts. Meaning, if he was getting his hair cut at, I don't know, the black barbershop downtown Louisville or downtown Frankfurt, okay, where it's more of an urban area, then maybe, we can trust him more. But since this brother is getting his haircut at Supercuts, which is traditionally used by my white brothers and sisters, what is being brought into question is the blackness of Mr. Cameron. Why? Because it's further evidence, because the Breonna Taylor incident did not result in charges to the police, right? again, his blackness is in question. Okay. So the meme goes on to say, so the first picture is Mr. Cameron apparently in a Supercuts establishment. The second picture has him in a suit, in a chair, and is looking at his hairline, right? Now, for a brother, hairline is important. I got locks, so I'm not trying to think about that much. But, if you got a fade, a tight fade, got a low cut, you want your line kind of tight and all that kind of stuff, want to make it straight and real, just crisp, okay? And so in the second one is a black man's edge up will tell you everything you need to know about his respect to the culture. All right. So because his hairline is not in keeping with how it should look for a black man, because his hairline is not up to snuff, that means he has very to little no respect for black culture. So what's brought into question is blackness, right? So these are just codes for he's an Uncle Tom, he's a sellout, he's a coon, because why? We trace it all the way back. The outcome that many people was hoping to happen with Breonna Taylor did not happen. So you got an assault on a black man because of something as trivial as his hairline and where he may supposedly go, right? Now, you're looking at the second picture. Now, Mr. Cameron, he may just been in between haircuts, right? Like, y'all black men can't tell me that your line is tight 24/7 all the time. Like, come on, bro. Like, especially in this day and age where especially young men are just growing their hair out and just letting it grow and not really getting it cut. Like my son went through that kind of phase, right? And I see young boys the same way. So we're trying to say because you don't have the proper line or the proper edge up, then you have no respect for the culture. Like that's very low thinking, right? So instead of engaging the issue at hand, okay, an ad hominem attack is done, okay? So whoever created this meme would rather spend his or her time disparaging this individual instead of doing the hard work of listening to all the hours of the grand jury audio that was just released, right? Looking at all the evidence that the grand jury looked at, right? And then coming up to understanding why the grand jury arrived at what they arrived at and what Mr. Cameron said. And also looking at Kentucky law. But that will require a whole lot of work. So instead, what happens is a lazy form of intellectualism happens where you want to create a meme, which is just another segue into the next meme. All right. Why do I use the word malevolent? Right? Because malevolent is like you think you're doing the right thing, but in order to do the right thing, you're doing a very bad thing. So you're not being benevolent. All right. You're doing a good thing to yield a great outcome. You're being malevolent. You're using or doing a bad thing, thinking you're going to bring out a good outcome. Like, come on. So here's the next meme. All right. Woo, let me take a breath here. This is Humanity Matters Weekly. We're getting into the malevolent memes. Okay. So, quote, if you are going to assume I'm a racist because I support Trump, I'm just going to assume you like to touch kids because you support Biden. Close quote. Like, okay, so how much just ridiculousness is going on in this meme, right? So first of all, two premises are happening, all right? One, a false premise that because someone supports Trump, or excuse me, the false premise is Trump is a racist, all right? Therefore, by extension, because someone votes for said person, Donald Trump, they are a racist. False premise, Biden is a child molester or a pedophile, right? Just as there's no proof about Donald Trump being a racist, there's no proof that Mr. Biden is a pedophile or a child molester. And so what happens is This person seeking to be malevolent, okay, is saying this. Okay, you want to call me a racist because I support Donald Trump? I'm going to call you, or you like child molestation or pedophilia because you support Biden. Like, again, here's the laziness that is going on in social media. But even more importantly, this is what that people are doing to one another. And so instead of engaging with the positions of the candidate, instead of engaging with the platform of these individuals, what people are choosing to do, instead of doing the hard work of sitting down with one another, engaging with one another, discussing the issues, oh, you know what? Because he's a racist, you vote for him, that means you're a racist. Because he, quote unquote, has these images getting close to kids, yeah, you support that too. Like, the absurdity of these memes yields no type of fruit other than the increasing of a division between people, alienating people who probably had close relationships because they were family members or working together or worshiping with one another or playing sports with one another. Because what is happening now is that I will seek to shame you out of your vote, or I will seek to assign to you a label, okay, that is so, if it were proven to be true, okay, so disparaging, all right? But instead, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna assign this label to you so that what will happen? Ooh, hopefully you'll change your vote. But why would I change my vote? There's nothing in this meme, if I was a supporter of the Democratic presidential candidate, Joseph Biden, that would lead me to change my vote. Because I know I don't like touching kids like you're assuming Joe Biden is touching kids. And you would not persuade me away from voting for Donald Trump because I'm not racist. Now, I know the given zeitgeist, the spirit of the age is that you have to assume white supremacy is everywhere, and you have to assume that when you have a not positive outcome that is occurring between a black person and a white person, or a white person and some non-white person, that you have to immediately assume that that person is racist. Like, that's not the topic. Okay, none of those persuade me to your position. Like, there's nothing here that persuades me, that would persuade me to vote for Donald Trump. And there's nothing here that would encourage me to vote for Joe Biden. Again, it's lazy intellectualism. It's a malevolent meme. A person doing a bad thing, hoping to produce something good when they're not. It's just lazy intellectualism. All right. So, probably my favorite one that I'm going to get into today is this one. Now, I've seen this one posted multiple times. All right. And I quote, "If you don't need a mask because God will protect you, why do you need a gun?" Now, do I come at this from a theodicy standpoint, the God's relationship and why the good things and bad things happen to people? Do I come at this from a constitutional standpoint, because people have a constitutional right to have a gun? All right. The Constitution doesn't say you need a gun. All right. The Constitution says you have a Second Amendment right to a firearm. Right. So, do you need a mask? Do you need a mask? If you don't need a mask because God will protect you, well, There are people out there that don't believe in God, who are agnostic or who are atheists, and they don't want to wear a mask. All right. Then there are people out there who have such a faith in God or in some form of deity, right? They believe they don't need a mask, right? And there are people who say who don't need a mask who also don't own a firearm. So there's a lot of assumptions, stereotypes running underneath this kind of statement. And again, how does such a statement persuade, and let's go for the sake of argument, how does this persuade a gun owner to wear a mask when said person who makes said statement is disparaging their faith? How do you persuade somebody that way? How do you persuade somebody that way? And now let's get into the theodicy issue, right? I don't know why good things or bad things happen to people, right? If we would be honest, there are people who have worn masks, who've done social distancing. I'm sure they've caught COVID-19. As well as there are people who have not social distanced and not worn a mask, and they have not caught COVID-19. So you're making some assumptions there as if the wearing of a mask confers on said person some level of virtue, some level of protection around them that would keep them from any type of evil act. That's like saying, giving 100% certainty that you don't smoke, you never touch a cigarette, you won't get cancer. Where I've known some people that have never smoked, never touched any of that kind of stuff, and they've caught cancer, lung cancer. Explain that. I don't know. So again, a malevolent meme. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure there's more out there. I'm sure you've seen them. I'm sure you've caught, been on either side of one of these memes. So the question I have to ask is this, is what is your intent? What is your motivation? What are the outcomes that you are looking for when you are seeking to critique the other side? But I would also ask you this: have you critiqued your own side? Have you looked at your own side and said, hey, you know what? We got some things to work on. We should be just a little bit more gracious about what we say, how we say it, and whom we say it to, and then not seek to categorize people on the basis of whatever. Hey, this is Dr. Philip Fletcher with the Humanity Matters Weekly. If you want to connect with me, connect Dr. Philip Fletcher on my Facebook, on Instagram, Dr. Philip Fletcher. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Look for the Humanity Matters logo. A lot of great video content. Also, you can find my podcast, Humanity Matters. Find that on anchor.fm, Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast content. Subscribe. Give me a rating. Give me a rating on my Facebook page. I greatly appreciate it. So let's transition. Oh my God, Senator Lindsey Graham. So Senator Lindsey Graham had a Joe Biden moment this past week. So Senator Lindsey Graham is in a, he is running against, I forget the guy's name right now, Jamie Harrison, excuse me. He is a Democratic contender for being a South Carolina senator. All right. The other South Carolina senator is Tim Scott. Okay. And in this debate that happened, Senator Lindsey Graham said this in the context of police, systemic racism, so on and so forth. And it was one of those like, you got to be kidding me. Did you really just say that? And this is what he said, and I quote, all right, I am asking every African American out there, look at my record. And this was in reference to HBCU universities, okay? Continuing on, I care about everybody. If you are a young African American, an immigrant, you can go anywhere in this state. You just need to be conservative, not liberal. Close quote. Really? Like, okay. So let's come at this from different angles. First of all right, in the quote, he mentions young African Americans and immigrants. But the news headlines, Guardian, Newsweek, USA Today, so on and so forth, they leave out immigrant and all they mention is black. So you already know this is headed. Okay? You already how this is going to be framed. Lindsey Graham is being a racist because he says blacks can't go anywhere in South Carolina unless they are conservative. If you're a liberal black, I don't know what he's inferring by you can't go anywhere, but it was a dumb statement. Okay. All right. So Senator Lindsey Graham needs to own this. Second, he needs to own this because you can't say you care for everybody and then then say only if you're imply that only if you're a conservative, then you can go places. If you're not, then you can't. So diving deeper, what Senator Lindsey Graham is asserting is, and I've talked about this before, is a form of racial essentialism. What do I mean? Well, Lindsey Graham was not the only one who has done this. Okay? So Lindsey Graham did this. Now, if you remember, Senator Joseph Biden, who is running for president, he did this twice this year. Once he did it on the Breakfast Club when he was closing out his interview with Charlamagne tha God, and he said this. I need you to hear the similarities in what Senator Lindsey Graham said this past week and what Joe Biden said, not only about African Americans, but also about Latinos. All right. So for Biden, he says, quote, well, I tell you what, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you do not share the same political thought process as Senator Lindsey Graham, you can't go nowhere. If you don't share the same political thought process and ideology as Joe Biden, then you're not black. It's racial essentialism. Are you following me? Okay. Then Mr. Biden doubled down. And then on August 5th, he said this. This is in August. Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly diverse attitudes about different things. Close quote. Biden said, quote, you go to Florida, you find a very different attitude about immigration than you do in Arizona. So it's a very diverse community. What is the implication of what Mr. Biden was saying in that African Americans, y'all think the same. So earlier he was saying, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black. Then he says, all of y'all think the same without some notable exceptions in regards to immigration. And then you have Senator Lindsey Graham talking about, well, I've done a lot for y'all. I care about y'all. But, to go places, right, in South Carolina, you got to be conservative. Yes. So again, these are all examples of what is called racial essentialism. Now, I wrote about this on my website. I'll post it in the link for you to go about and read. But what Senator Lindsey Graham did is no different than what Joe Biden did. So then the question becomes this. If what Lindsey Graham said was racist, isn't what Joe Biden did racist? Not on one occasion, but two occasions. Something to ask yourself. Something to consider. We got to hold these men and women accountable. Hey, 1 week from tomorrow, early voting starts in Arkansas. All right. My question for all my Arkansans is this. Okay. Man, this episode, I feel it's so heavy political, but I'm going to move out of it soon. Okay. Let's make America local again. Let's make Arkansas local again. What do I mean? For my beautiful people in Arkansas, do you know who's running for your city council? What are their positions? Do you know who's running for mayor? What is his or her position? Your justices of the peace, your county judge. What is their positions? What about your state rep, state senator? What is their positions? We don't have the governor running. But again, make Arkansas local again. I think we get so distracted on what's happening in Washington, D.C. with Trump, Pelosi, Supreme Court, all that's important, right? But if you read the Constitution, right, like the power is supposed to rest as far down as possible. That's the beauty of like the 10th Amendment. Those things not clearly enunciated and directed to the federal government is reserved to the states. So, do you know what's happening at your city, your county level, or at your state? Or we become so distracted about what's happening in Washington, D.C., I don't know, your taxes may go up. You may lose some type of service, right? Some amendment may be trying to get passed in your state constitution. I don't know. I'm not taking positions on any of those things. I'm just saying, are you aware and have you done the research before you go to the ballot box or you mail in your ballot, however you're choosing to vote, okay? The means that you're using. Have you studied those issues? Or are you driving around and like, what's this reallocation thing about? What? What's the governor talking about this sales tax for roads and things? What? Like, huh? So I would say this. My encouragement, I can't tell you what to do, but it's an encouragement. Study the issues before you vote. Be an informed individual. Talk to somebody who has a different position than you so you can have a better understanding of what is going on. Get out of your echo chamber and understand both sides or multiple sides of the issue so that you can be like, you know what? I can in good confidence make this decision. I can cast my vote for this candidate or for this position. All right. That's my encouragement to you. But hey, early voting starts October 19th. Get out, vote. No vote is ever wasted. No vote is ever wasted. Let me say it again. No vote is ever wasted. No vote is ever wasted. Okay, so why do I bring up subsidiarity? All right. So when I say make Arkansas local again, I have a friend out in Utah. He says make make America local again. So I just kind of remix that, for Arkansas, right? Because the best decisions that are made happen when they occur closest to home. Okay. So in my house, I can more effectively identify the problem, analyze that problem, come up with different courses of actions, and then arrive at the most effective and efficient solution. Okay. Now, if it's a problem that's a little larger than out of my house, right? Then maybe I'll go to my neighbors next door and be like, hey, we got this thing going on our street, right? I can't do it by myself. So since our three houses are directly impacted by this, right? Let's talk about this and let's come up with a solution, right? If the resources require, you know, more houses to get involved, so on and so forth, right? Then we can figure out the means of, how are we going to, execute the solution. All right. Now, the further away you get, all right, the more just generalized the solution could be. And it may not be the most effective and efficient way to address the problem that you are dealing with. Also, by making Arkansas local again, by focusing on subsidiarity, that means taking things and addressing them at the lowest level. What that does is prevent like a bunch of smart people, right? Like a committee of the few making decisions for everybody. Because those few, they're not going to have all the information. They may think they do or make you think they do, but they don't. They're not going to have all the information like I would have the information at my house, or me and my two neighbors could have the information. And so, more than likely, what will happen, this is what's called central planning. Okay. What can happen is central planners remove the opportunity of subsidiarity away from someone like me or my neighbors. They look and say, hey, you know what? We'll just do this. And I'm like, well, shoot, that's not going to work. That was a waste of time. And then those same persons will come around and say, you know what, you're right. We need to reform it. Well, can we just stop it? Well, no, we'll just reform it. But we're going to need more from you to reform it so that we can get it to where it needs to be. To stop it, right? Because it's not effective and it's not efficient. Let us figure it out again. So those are my thoughts. This is how you can make Arkansas local again. Subsidiarity. Pay attention. The city, the county, the state. Joy, question. Joy, you've been rocking it today. Top fan. What does my shirt say? Middle lines are hard to read. Oh, that's awesome. So my shirt says this: Planned Parenthood has been more successful than the Ku Klux Klan. That's my statement. So, as we are talking about systemic racism and the disproportionate numbers, disproportionate outcomes concerning one population of persons, in my estimation, all right, if we want to talk about systemic racism, we need to talk about this. Disproportionately impacts one population of people, disproportionately. But yet I never hear it mentioned in any of the discussions. Just saying. So, hey, this has been Humanity Matters Weekly. I've been your host, Dr. Philip Fletcher, where we discuss faith and philosophy, nonprofit leadership, and social issues. My desire is to discuss ideas, engage with ideas so that we can flourish as human beings. For more information, you can visit my website, philipfletcher.org. Find me on YouTube as well. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, like my Facebook page, Dr. Philip Fletcher. Send me an email, humanitymatterspodcast@gmail.com. Find my podcast, Humanity Matters, on all podcast outlets. Hey, subscribe, share, give me a rating. Good, bad, I love them all because it makes me a better person. All right. So in the end, remember to be loved, to be kind, and to be generous. And if we remember to live in hope, we can do the impossible. Y'all take care. God bless.